Okay, so let's look at the results for year 4. We see that net profits per team have increased for just about all the teams. Some teams have greatly increased their net profits. Some teams have only marginally increased their net profits. And remember, in the finance textbook, the main goal of finance is to maximize shareholders' wealth. Increasing net profits helps to maximize shareholders' wealth. As far as points, most teams did above 200 points, with 6 teams increasing above 300 points and one team earning above 400 points. In stock price, we have a new leader in stock price. BYLV is a new leader in stock price, surpassing Team YSL for the first time and breaking their 3-year supremacy in stock price. If we look at sales per team, Team YSL is still number 1 in sales. And we still have the same team in Flex in second place and a new team in third place, F4. As far as earnings per share, we have a new team, this team was first in earnings per share last round and now is also first in earnings per share this round. And this is where Team YSL had really gone flat in their earnings per share, and that cost them their leadership position, the number 2 position. They've fallen to number 7th place or so. This company made a nice turnaround in increasing earnings per share by 50%. Okay, so the company with the most market share would be New Guys at 17,250 cars. Actually, no, Team YSL at 17,742 cars. They would come in third. We have Flex at 17,759 cars. So they would be first, then Team YSL, then the New Guys, with the 3 companies having sales above 17,000 cars. Okay, so let's look at the leaderboard here. So current round points, like I said before, 200 to 432 points for the 4th round. Now, gross profit margins, you want to be as high as possible in gross profit margins. So these 2 teams here are below the gross profit margins for, since the beginning of this competition, the gross profit margins were about 40%. Now these teams are below the 40% mark, which is bad for your points. It's not what investors want, so you want to keep continuously to increase the gross profit margins. And increasing gross profit margins help to increase stock price. Now, Team YSL might have a low-cost strategy where they're trying to sell more vehicles at a lower price to increase profits, which is an okay strategy too, because that does increase stock price and that does increase revenues and profits. But we want to try to simultaneously do that while increasing profit margins if possible. And that can be done by advertising a little bit more heavily. Okay, so we talked about stock price. Return on equity is the return for investors' equity that they've invested in the company, and this increases when profits go up. Total points, most teams are above 2,000 points, which is great, meaning you only have to get about 200 points each of the next rounds for most teams. Teams that are below 2,000 points really have to step up and want to get at least 800 to 900 points in over the next 2 years of competition. Operating profit margins are a reflection of how high your gross profit margins are and how efficient your advertising is. And return on assets looks at the profits. So higher profits will increase your return on assets, but also more effective asset utilization. Net profit, again, is how you manage your debt load. Decreasing your debt will improve your net profits. And of course, sales revenue, we know we could increase sales by making better cars, having better prices, and increasing marketing. But those things are all costly to your gross profit, so you want to do them in a more measured step. Total asset Turnover looks at your assets turning into sales. So again, another asset efficiency model. If we go to my solo game, this is the practice game. I completed year 4, much like you did. So in the assessment, I only earned 374 points because even though my revenues increased, my profit margin only increased by 6%, but my operational and net decreased, mostly because of the increase in demand for advertising. And my total asset turnover, since my profits were kind of flat and my assets increased pretty greatly, because I invested heavily in operational investments, was not able to make many points in the return on assets, return on equity, return on investment, total asset turnover. These were all difficult to make points in. However, I did increase my market cap by 60%. My forecasting was a little bit more accurate. I did double my investments in operational investments, which earned me 100 points, and I did have a cash surplus, which earned me 100 points. So moving into, after I look over my assessments, my charts, the industry, my financials, I go back into sales, and I can see now I have this $1,200 operational cost reduction, which doubled from last year. For making those operational cost reductions, that's this area on the production page. By increasing them, I was greatly able to increase. So now when I build my car, I can actually build a car above customer expectations, and I can get a much higher profit margin because of those investments. So I'm increasing the features of my car to make my car more attractive, and I'm being able to generate higher profit margins because of this. So this way I am simultaneously pleasing investors, and I am also making more attractive cars. Now you can see here, truck is a little bit more difficult to get that higher profit margin. So I'm going to tweak it a little bit in a couple areas that are not as important. So I was able to get to 73. So in some areas I do sacrifice a little bit of my features to try and get those higher profit margins. So here again, okay, so again, it's getting a little bit more difficult even on the luxury class, but I've been able to increase my profit margins for all those classes, which is what I'm hoping to do, because increasing profit margins is going to increase my profits, increase the amount of return on equity, return on assets, earnings per share. All those variables will increase. So on the production page, now I have to buy, looks like I'm going to have to buy some additional plants. My operational cost investments are already maxed out, so I'm not going to be able to earn points by buying more of them, because I wanted to buy them in advance to get the highest possible profit margins earlier on. And I'm hoping that this will generate more revenue. Now, don't go by my sales forecast. I just threw that in pretty quickly. They're not by far the most efficient or accurate sales forecast, so I would not copy my sales forecasting for this round. I'm just trying to increase my profit margins to show you how that's going to affect my overall results. And I'm going to buy back, retire some debt to help my profit, my debt margins, and retire some stock. Okay, so let's see how I do after I've increased my profit margins on my sales page, and let's complete the round 5, and we'll look at the overview points. So my overview points are now 575, which is really good. And how did I do that? Of course, I increased my sales by 30%, but I increased my quick and debt ratios by paying down my long-term and short-term debt. My profit margins went from 66 to 75%, so I earned 15% there. But in my operational and net, I earned 30% because I had 30% increases because that trickles down. And then if you look at my total asset turnover, my return on equity, my earnings per share, my return on assets, book value per share, these have all, and market capitalization, these have all gone up, which earned me a great deal of points. My return on invested capital is a little bit lower because of my increased asset size. But overall, 575 points is very decent for round 5 moving into round 6. So what you want to shoot for to improve your game is try to move up your gross profit margins by 10%. So if you're at 50, try to go to 60. If you're at 40, try to go to 50. So increasing your gross profit margins by at least 10%, even if it means sacrificing some sales, will generate higher points overall. Okay, so that's my quick video and tips for reviewing the results of round 4 and some ideas for moving forward into round 5. I hope you found this useful, and good luck in getting your team in first place next round. Thank you and take care.